Are you drafting Derrick Henry in 2025? Dynasty, whole different discussion, and we're going to have that discussion on the Dynasty channel. Link in description, youtube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. That's my Dynasty channel. We'll be having this conversation, but right now, we're talking 2025. Do you draft him? We've got a couple of names on screen of players that had similar workloads when they fell off the cliff. I know King Henry's special. I know he continues to do it. And I've even gone out on a limb a few weeks ago, I believe, and said that I'm kind of drafting him pretty much no matter what, but in a small increment. Meaning if I'm doing it in best ball, promo code Smitty on Underdog, hit that link in the description. Code Smitty gets it done. I'll drop the link in the live chat. If I'm sitting there on Underdog, I can afford to do a lot of Derrick Henry placement on my teams if I'm drafting hundreds of teams. Let me draft 25 of them, 30 of them, whatever. I could even do 5%, 6% of drafts, or even better yet, what I call brute force best ball drafting, a phrase you might hear soon. We coined it here, where you pretty much take an approach and you hammer it home in one specific contest. You do the puppy one. And in puppy ones, you draft a certain type of team over and over, never draft it again. Maybe you don't draft Derrick Henry anywhere else but in that one specific contest. Now, I will say this. I do think something happens at some point this year, coming up 2025. So if you do draft Derrick Henry in a 2025 yearly league draft, it's probably smart to do it in the draft that allows for trading or is a very active league in terms of trading. If you go into one of your buddy leagues, your work league, one of your one-off, redraft leagues, and you draft Derrick Henry in a league where you can't get rid of him even in week 10 to the owner that is dying to make a trade but doesn't ever answer his DMs or his text messages or his trade offers. If you're heading into a league that has no hope for you to trade him away, if you start getting uneasy, don't draft him in that particular league. Venture to say I probably won't own him in any best ball leagues, in my buddy leagues, in Miss Smitty's work league that I do every year. Like those leagues, I'm not drafting Derrick Henry. I'm only drafting him where I can trade him in a specific redraft league that I can't even think of right now that I'm in. That really isn't much, or best ball. So if you're gonna draft him in non-best ball, make sure you can trade in that league. If not, follow suit with what I'm doing. Take him in best ball. $5 draft, doesn't matter. No trades, but who cares? You can handcuff in certain ways, draft complementary players that step in when maybe he's declining. Our Bucky Irving of 2025, maybe like a Dylan Sampson, who we love, is on his horse, tearing it up, and then Derrick Henry falls off. But Derrick Henry is a very, very, very tough player to draft in 2025 and a very tough player to avoid. It's a perplexing situation. That's why we're here to discuss it. And I'll open the phone lines pretty quickly. We'll go over some news and we'll talk with you guys and get your opinions on it. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
As we talked about yesterday, Aaron Glenn most likely going to be the head coach of the Jets. Now it's official. As I talked about yesterday, great for Breece Hall, in my opinion. This guy is going to bring a mentality to the organization that I believe will be different. I don't want to say go all in. Don't draft Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and saturate your teams with New York Jet players. But at the end of the day, Breece Hall's falling into a territory of value where the line in the sand is a very acceptable third round. I had a couple people say, Smitty, are the ESPN rankings is going before Derrick Henry in round 1. Stop. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself if you really believe that those rankings or the mock draft ADP data on Sleeper is accurate right now. I don't know why they don't update it. Just reach out to me. I'll give you an ADP list and you can update it one time at one shot. I don't understand why nobody has updated and accurate stuff. Breece Hall's going in the 3rd round in 2025, at least for months and months and months before he potentially climbs up with some sort of big news. But where's the line in the sand for Breece Hall? It is definitely in the 3rd round. And the line in the sand is where you go from an avoid, and flip into an absolute monster go-get player. I love Breece Hall at this value. This is a different value. If you start saying, well, I see comments. People just don't process it the right way. They say things like, I don't know if I trust him. Yeah, you don't trust him at top 5, top 10 overall value. You're not spending that. It's a whole different mindset. And for Derrick Henry, his line in the sand is going to be probably, in my opinion, somewhere in this territory. And I would say that it would creep up a little bit. Like, this is like the middle of the second, like middle to slightly above the middle of the 2nd round. I think his line in the sand is right at the turn. And again, in best ball, I'm taking him at the 12, 13 turn, the 10 overall, even in some best ball drafts. I don't mind loading up, like I said, on 5% of or 100% of one particular contest where it's like, okay, I'm going to draft 40 teams and I'm going to draft, you're not going to get Henry in every draft, but anytime you're able to get him, you draft him, and you end up with 22 teams out of 50 that have Derrick Henry in a puppy or a big board, early big board, or a super flex big board. You take him in the equivalent when you mix in quarterbacks. He drops down around. Like, take him in one draft over and over and over as many times as you can, and then move on. Maybe you don't want him a single other time in another contest at all on Underdog, promo code Smitty. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just use him in one particular contest, and that's the way I like to do it sometimes. It's called my brute force best ball draft approach. But you ask, why do we expect him to probably drop off at some point this year? Look, he had 367 carries in 2024, including the playoffs. That is an astronomical amount of carries. Doesn't matter if you're built right. Doesn't matter if you run the risk. Doesn't mean he will 100% break down this year. He could break down in next offseason and never be the same for 2026. Maybe he's pretty damn elite in 2025. It's possible. But the odds are increasingly more dire when you have a 350-plus carry season. He had 367 carries, including the playoffs. His career carries have now reached 2553, and that includes playoff games. 2553. Christian McCaffrey has 1871, and we pretty much think he's probably done. Is he going to have some games? Maybe. Does he have a good week, week 1, week 2, week 3, and then get hurt? Maybe. But 1871 career touches. This man has 2,553 carries. Tomlinson had 2657 carries prior to his drop-off. LaDainian Tomlinson is the definition of everything we're seeing in Derrick Henry back in Tomlinson's day. Just pure domination, reliability, longevity, as much as you can offer longevity for a running back. 2657. That was right before his drop-off. He was never a 1,000 yards carry or 1,000-yard gainer again from this point on, once he hit 2,657 carries. So he's right there. Like, you could say, okay, well, he's nibbling at that, and he's going to potentially go a little bit past it. He'll do it, and then he'll drop off too. I'm going to give him till 2025. It's a tough dilemma. The truth of it, I know a lot of you want a distinct answer, like, Smitty, are we taking him or are we not taking him? There is no real answer to this one. I wish there was. I wish I could tell you, don't take him like I told you not to take Christian McCaffrey last year. Christian McCaffrey was a hard pass, 100% hard pass last year. We smashed with that.
You've just been Smitty approved.
I mean, we crushed it with that piece of advice. The year prior to that, avoid Austin Eckler. Eckler came off probably his best season, or if not one of his best seasons ever, in 2023. I said, don't touch him. He was a top 5-6 consensus player, and he failed everyone. That prediction we landed.
You've just been...
Admittedly, I didn't like Derrick Henry 2 years ago. I was definitely on board last year. People keep coming in like they're confused. They're confused, and they say, Smitty, you didn't like Derrick Henry last year. Not true. We drafted Derrick Henry in the second round like clockwork. Where I said be careful was when he crept into the first round. Even though he did earn that, I am wrong in terms of him definitely earning first-round value. He didn't have a consistent first-round ADP for majority of the offseason, so we cleaned up drafting Derrick Henry in the second round where it made sense. He was not an avoid on this channel last year at all. People misremember. People like to say what they want to say, but once you go back and reflect on what we talked about, he was fine. Round 2, there was no avoiding Derrick Henry in round 2. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, and he went consistently at the top of round 2. I do admittedly, right here, I'm telling you, I don't get everything right. I take accountability. The year prior, I said avoid him. And he's dominated for 2 years. That's why I jumped back on the train, so to speak, last year. I'm not jumping off or jumping on this year. This is a preference thing. This is, you're in a specific league where you can make trades and say, you know what, I'm committing to myself that I'm selling him by week 9. Before double-digit weeks kick off, I'm getting rid of him. Let me give you the best case in point you could ever come up with. Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was a top 5 running back machine in 2024. Last year. He was an absolute marvel until the end of the year. He turned into a pumpkin. We never saw the Joe Mixon that we saw all year ever again once we got to like I think it was week 14. Roughly. Don't quote me on the exact week of the fall off of Joe Mixon 2024 last year, but I want to say it was right around week 14. If you would have, the best advice in the world would have been, hey, draft Joe Mixon in 2024, trade him before week 10, 11, 12 just to be safe, because we didn't know it would be week 14, week 13. So you ride the Mixon train for 2.5 months, 10 games roughly, and then you sell him. You sell him for top dollar, make out like a bandit, switch over to a player you quietly like better, and Joe Mixon tails off and you reap all the rewards, and you absolutely blast the owner in the swap. That is the best example a human being could possibly give you for how to approach Derrick Henry 2025. Draft him, reap the rewards early, because he'll probably not drop off. We don't see any signs of drop off yet. He'll probably be good for a good month or two. And then you draft him. So yeah, Mixon was a guy I didn't love last year at all. I admit I did not love him. I was wrong in terms of the beginning part of the year. If you drafted him, held on to him all year, he did end up failing you, just like we predicted. But I was wrong, and the best approach would have been, hey, draft him, then trade him. I'm using the Joe Mixon reverse engineer advice. The best advice that you could have given somebody last year for Joe, I'm giving it to you right here for Derrick Henry. If you don't want to mess around with trading, you just rather take a safer player, then don't draft him. I don't think Derrick Henry has another season like this. I don't think he has close to 1,900 yards and 16 touchdowns and 5.9 a carry. I think it's going to be around 4 point something a carry. I think it'll be around 10, 12 touchdowns if he can manage to stay healthy long enough to get those numbers. And I think it's going to be under 1,500 yards, probably be more around 13, but that's pretty good. That's a damn good running back, but that's if he stays healthy. I think even if he stays healthy, he doesn't reach these numbers. Decline is more likely than not, and unavoidable breakdown at the end of the year, a la Joe Mixon 2024, leaving you literally hanging. The odds of that are pretty high, given this workload. 25-53 carries. It's insane. Before we open phone lines, we've got just a little bit of news. Again, it's official that Aaron Glenn is the new head coach of the New York Jets. I love this move because it brings defense. Probably a very, we're speculating some, but probably very much a ground and pound. Use Breece Hall. Let the defense set up the run. Probably what you're looking at out of Breece Hall's usage in 2025. But a lot will depend on the other coaching hires, which is, something we wait on before we totally lock anything in. Mike Garafolo reportedly said this, retweeted by Ian Rappaport, by the way. Generational talent equals Travis Hunter as a response to the Titans around the horn on the NFL, or around the NFL, sorry, around the horn, around the NFL, who said the Titans say that they won't pass on a generational talent at number 1 overall. That could be posturing just to get somebody to think, oh man, we got to trade up to get Travis Hunter, or hey, we got to trade up to get Ashton Genty, or we got to trade up, because no one's really looking at Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward as generational talents. They're great quarterback prospects that could develop into generational talents, but they're not generational talents as of this moment. So at the end of the day, you got to ask. I see BBQ dropping $100 hauler. You absolute straight monster. I'm coming for you right now. Hang tight. Look, it's, we don't know. Posturing it's posture season. Everyone's going to posture, but there's probably some truth to it too. Could Travis Hunter go number 1 overall? Could they mean Tech McMillan? Could they mean Ashton Genty? Titans running Ashton Genty out there. It's not the end of the world. Could be a good spot long term. Might be a little shaky, but look, Pollard had some good success. I think they could build around it. What if they brought in Fields? Ashton Genty. I'm just saying, like, this report, they'll probably posture more than not. They'll probably take a quarterback. They're probably lying. Maybe they'll trade down. Whatever. Travis Hunter is not a good number 1 overall pick to some people, and he's a great number 1 overall pick to others because they understand that he wants to play defense and offense, and you're drafting a top 5 rookie defensive back and a top 1 to 2 wide receiver with 1 draft selection, and that's pretty damn powerful. That does kind of make him, in an IDP, who knows how valuable Travis Hunter will be. He might break IDP. It just depends on if they use him. This right here, exciting lineup for the New England Patriots. You got Vrabel at the top, the coordinators, Josh McDaniels. Again, another what I like to call a one-trick pony, in the sense that he's could be a great offensive coordinator if set up properly. And then also, you don't have to worry about him falling apart, because he will fall apart if you put him in a head coaching position. So he's not a good head coach. Or could be. I don't think it's fair to say he's not, but could be. But he's more likely to be Kingsbury. A good offensive coordinator in the right spot doesn't really succeed as a head coach. Everyone's going to judge him and say he failed. He failed. Just like everybody just said in a very blanket way, very, very non-football people. People that don't know ball would say, oh, Kingsbury's not good. That wasn't a good hire by the Washington Commanders. He failed in Arizona. My name's Steve, 115 from YouTube. My name's Steve. Hey, Steve. Is Kingsbury walking, this is me before last season, is Kingsbury walking into a head coaching role in Washington that I'm not aware of? No, but Smitty, he failed for your Arizona Cardinals. I'm a Niner fan. I'm just quietly pretending I'm not a Niner fan, but I'm going to say to you, Smitty, because I say Niner fan because Niner fans hate, for some reason they like to go at me because they think it stings talking about the Cardinals, as if I care about the Cardinals. I'm a Cardinal and Bill fan, but I don't even care about that fandom. Almost 0% of me. I'm so good at tucking it away and not having any of that affect my fantasy football analysis. None of it. I could care less. When I'm doing a bracket, Josh Allen doesn't get any leeway because I'm a Bills fan. Kyler Murray, I talk about how bad the Cardinals made a bad decision giving him the bag. I did video after video on not paying Kyler Murray and giving him the bag. I can be completely biased. But for some reason, Niner fans like to go at me. They're like, oh, Kingsbury, he failed for your Cardinals. He's going to be so bad in Washington. Is he coaching in Washington as a head coach, Steve? Or is he going to be the offensive coordinator where he's great at doing that? Like, use your brain. So, yeah, Josh McDaniels, we don't fully know if he's going to Kingsbury this situation, go over and become a marvel, but he's had good success as an OC. He's had some real good success in the past as an OC. So, judging him as a head coach in an OC job just shows you're looking at this very, very skewed. This is a good lineup here for the New England Patriots. And Patriot fans should be excited about Vrabel being at the top and everything else that they got going on. Here's this man. And everyone, this is another thing that gives me a belly laugh. Smitty, you're just hating on the Bears. You're a Bears hater. All you do is hate on the Bears. I don't hate on anybody. I tell you how I see it. Am I always right? No. Am I right up more often than I'm wrong? Probably, or we wouldn't be here right now, I imagine, correct? So when someone says, Smitty, you're just hating on the Bears, here comes the Bears hate again. How about this? Your Bears aren't that special. And when Niner fans say you're hating on Shanahan because you're a Niner hater, let me be brutally honest with you. The Niners are not that special. No one is more special than the other, okay? This is me telling you how I see it. When you see me talking bad about Caleb Williams and you think I'm a Caleb hater, BBQ, I'm coming for your super chat right now. Just hang tight. Appreciate you, bro, dropping the 100 wad. BBQ dropping 100 wad in the chat right now. My boy, I just want to finish this rant. When you see me ranting about Caleb all offseason last year and saying he's going to bust, why is he going to bust? Partly because of him, majority because of Shane Waldron, majority because of Ryan Poles, majority because of the Chicago Bears organization not being serious people. They don't know what they're doing. They never develop quarterbacks. People see it as hate, but it's my take. And the reason you hear so much of it is because this man got hyped up as if he was going to be worth the number 1 overall pick, and I couldn't have it. Not on my watch, so I let people know to an extreme degree. People think it's hate. It's my take. You're not that special. Your Bears are not so special that I have time to dedicate a lot of time toward hating on your team because I'm anti-Chicago Bears. I'm not anti-anything. I don't dislike the Chicago Bears. I'm not against any organization. I just told you I'm a Bills and Cardinal fan, and I don't care at all about promoting Bills or Cardinals because of that whatsoever. Just like I don't care about tearing down Niner players or Shanahan or Caleb, but I talk the truth. I speak facts. All offseason last year, when I was called a Shanahan hater, was I not proven correct? Was maybe the reason I was constantly having these conversations over and over is because people wouldn't listen. And look at Shanahan now. Look at how everyone's calling for his head. Half the fan base wants Shanahan fired. The other half's like, well, give him another chance. Nobody loves Shanahan right now. But a year ago, I was crazy. A year ago, I was slinging hate all over the place. When really, you just think it's hate because you don't like what I'm saying. And when I say this man's sleeping on the job over here, and this right here, new Bears head coach Ben Johnson says he expected to coach a sleeping giant. Said he's excited to coach a sleeping giant, which is this man right here, who is on the bench, sleeping. No, I think he was tired of getting hit. In fairness to Caleb, he was getting absolutely pummeled every single game. But here's the thing. Everything I said about Caleb was correct. Caleb failed. Caleb failed because of his offensive coordinator. The Chicago Bears failed because of their offensive coordinator. I told you their offensive coordinator was dog water, and they fired him. They fired Eberflus. I told you their coach was dog water, and I'm telling you Ryan Poles, who's been using everyone else but himself as a scapegoat, he's dog water. Is Ben Johnson great? Yes. Do we know if he's a good head coach? We have no clue. All we know is he's surrounded by inept people that pretend they know how to coach and make decisions and play football, and they don't. The organization known as the Bears doesn't know football. They don't know how to cultivate. They don't know how to enable, and they got the right man maybe for the job. We don't even know because look at Mike McDaniel, offensive genius, goes over to head coach. He's a horrible head coach. He's a great offensive mind, great scheme guy. He created Deebo Samuel. Mike McDaniel created the wide back role and Deebo Samuel. And he was dog water as a coach. Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive mind, great scheme guy, great offensive coordinator, horrible head coach. Well, guess what? We don't know what Ben is. Ben could be a good head coach. I hope he is. But it doesn't mean he'll succeed because he's got an inept organization continuing to mess up and not surround their team with the right pieces. Now, maybe Ben has a lot of control and he's going to be able to rein this thing in. But Ryan Poles is still a decision maker. And the same guy that was on the phone on draft day calling up Caleb Williams and going, hello? And Caleb going, who's this? And Ryan Poles knowing in his heart, he knew in his heart that Caleb was not the right guy. You could see it in his eyes. I have a psych degree. You can't get it past me. I can read mannerisms. I can read it all. Facial expressions. I can read into Ryan Poles' soul. Just staring at the man on the phone, looking at his eyes, and Caleb going, who's this? And Ryan Poles wanted to hang up, but he didn't have any balls. He didn't have the courage or the balls to hang up the phone and say, you know what? Who's this? Who's this? Watch me. Jayden Daniels, #1 overall pick. Call it in. Which, thank God he didn't, because they probably would have made Jayden Daniels a fraction of what he is, because the Bears ruin everything. But if Poles had any cojones at all, he would have said, you know what? I'm not drafting you. Sorry, you're a good kid, but I changed my mind. Ryan Poles knew. I could see it in his eyes. He still drafted Caleb because he doesn't know what he's doing, and he didn't know how to back out of the situation. It is what it is. You can call me a hater. You can call me whatever you want. But am I a hater, or am I just continuously telling you the truth? Or at least what I deem to be the truth, what I believe to be the truth. Again, am I right all the time? I am not. But we were pretty spot on. Everything Niner related and everything Chicago Bear related last season. And those are the two things I get coined the most for in terms of hating. Speaking of the Niners, they're talking about Pete Carroll as a DC option. We'll see. That could be interesting, I suppose. Let's open the phone lines, but not until after we get to BBQ's $100 holler. This guy said, Bucks OC staying put. Can I get a Bucky to Jupiter? You certainly can.
To Jupiter.
And Bucky's on the Saturn, man?
The Saturn Men.
Yes, he is.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
BBQ, appreciate you, my boy. And $100 hauler means you get to be put on any video, and I imagine you want to be put on this one.
Get buckied.
Oh, you're already on it. You get to choose another video.
Bucky. Oh, Bucky.
You know, comes a time in every man's life where he's got to make a decision. Do you take a Bucky bath or do you not? And if you walk into 2025 scared of being bathed in Bucky greatness, that's on you, friend. That's on you for being afraid you didn't get on the train early enough. This train is going up. Bucky will only get better. So hit me, BBQ, if you want to, what video you want to be a part of next. I can throw it on, and you can sponsor that. Appreciate you. Where's Irving's line in the sand? Probably, I would say exactly where we were talking in the second round there, maybe. I think, would I take him at the 12-13 turn? I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I think he's better off. He wins you a league in the third round at 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. The God's honest truth is he probably won't fall there. You never know. I've heard, like, you know, talk of people that are in like grandma leagues in their family league. They have Bucky in the third round. So it really does depend on what draft you're in. If you're drafting with a lot of sharks and dogs, probably going in round 2. And I think anywhere in 2 is good. I think that this is good. This is great. This is great. This is good. So be careful drafting Bucky in every league and having like a 50% saturation at this value. Here's where I could have an oversaturation of Bucky in terms of value. Hit me with the phone calls. Let's talk Derrick Henry, Bears, Caleb Williams, Detroit Lions, anything we've talked about already on top of anything else you want to talk about, but let's try and stick to those topics, at least initially when you call in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
I pulled my back out really bad. You guys probably can't notice too much. but I can't sit forward for very long. I can barely walk. I have to pull my leg up and put it on my other leg to give me just like a little bit of relief in the lower back for a little bit. But I can barely walk. I literally walk. If you saw me walk right now, it'd take me about a minute to get up and get to the door. I pulled it out more than I've ever pulled it out before. My back is just killing me. I need to strengthen it. I need to do back exercises. So dial in. BBQ, who do you want the other video to be? Let's see, Bucky. You got Bucky already, so you get to choose another one. Smitty, what does this say? What do you think of Chase Brown next year? Well, the Bengals at a running back. They could, but I doubt they're at a running back that takes him out of play. I mean, I think Chase Brown probably has the higher likelihood of going with a third round ADP than Bucky. You know, I think people just feel like that's probably, I feel like he's probably the more doubted player of the two. Travis, you're live. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
What can I do for you?
On the Bears, do you know if Ben Johnson liked DeAndre Swift, or do you think he potentially moves him? Because he had him with the Lions. So that could determine who they take in the first round, too. If he loves Jensen, he could move Swift. If he didn't like him, and then that opens it wide open for Jensen.
I don't know. I don't think he'd move him. I don't think anyone's going to trade for him again. It's hard to imagine. But I think that...
I mean, they could just dump him. I know he's signed the contract. But.
I do fear that they're gonna be a strong candidate for Genty. The only thing that would make me think no is it's kind of ridiculous not to take an offensive lineman after Caleb Williams is one of the biggest reasons he took the job, and you're not going to protect him. I mean, that's so reckless. Maybe he believes I can grab a second and third round guy, coach him up, and we'll be fine. I got the best, minds at work on this, and I don't value first round linemen. I look at the second round and I say these guys are just as good as these guys. That could make him take Genty. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I do know that President Trump created an order. I've got it on my Instagram, but this one says the Bears may not draft Ashton Genty. That's one, and then this one as well on my IG. The Bears may not draft Cam Skattebo. Those are two orders that I hope stay true. Please don't draft either running back. Chicago. I don't want it.
Yeah, because at first I was going to say, I said, I don't see them taking Genty. I don't put anything past them. But I don't see him doing it. I see him going online and building it the right way. But then it occurred to me that Ben Johnson was there with Swift when they moved off of Swift.
I kind of feel like Ben Johnson's got a lot of sway, so I imagine he didn't really love him. But, I mean, he played really well last year. Maybe he gives him another shot. I doubt he gets traded, so it's like, what's his contract?
I just looked. His dead cap is almost $9 million, which is a lot for a running back.
Yeah, but sometimes you save money by cutting. Example, like Cooper Kupp has a dead cap, I think, of $29 million, but if they cut him now, they'll save $20 million over the next 2 years. Right. So there's a lot of fine details that make a player, even with big dead cap, a more attractive cut. Just like, Kupp will probably be released. Another release would be, who was it that we were talking about the other day? Damn it. I'll think of it in a second, but there's a lot of players that end up getting cut because of that savings. Like if you know you're moving on, then you can save money. You save money. You look at it that way. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of talent in this draft at running back. So you could get a Judkins, you could get a Caleb Johnson, you could get a Henderson. I really like Henderson. Henderson reminds me a lot of, the smaller running back that's currently dominating the NFL. The current
Sure.
50%, receiving, 50% rushing type of player. He's exciting. Reminds me a lot of Breece Hall. I think Henderson's better than Judkins, to be honest with you. I like them both. I think they both could be successful in the NFL. And I look at Henderson as a higher risk of doing nothing and being a total bust because he doesn't get cultivated right, and he's smaller, and you got to fall into a situation where a coach does want to use you as a little bit of a smaller back. But Henderson has the ability of becoming Breece Hall type value, whereas Judkins feels like he could climb into and these are teammates on Ohio State. If anybody doesn't know, these running backs, they're very, top 6 prospects of the running back class. Judkins could climb to I think James Cook value. He reminds me of James Cook a lot, but I don't think he'll ever be a top 5 running back. Never know. Sometimes guys hit the NFL and they totally become different players. Bucky Irving was a perfect example of a guy that everybody liked, but nobody knew what he would develop into. He was not a prospect like he is a player in the NFL. Let's make that abundantly clear. Bucky Irving showed very little signs in pre-NFL, as a prospect. He showed very little signs that he was going to be the next Gibbs meets. What do we usually coin him as? What type of? He's kind of like a Jahmyr Gibbs meets a. God, his style is so 5 different running backs. I would say he's kind of like a Kamara meets Gibbs meets. Damn, I don't know. There's so many different styles.
Almost mix it with someone who's almost a little bit physical of a back too.
Mixon, yeah.
Oh, Mixon wouldn't be bad.
Oh, I thought you said
mix him.
Oh.
I wouldn't say Mixon, but
yeah,
I would say mixed with someone who's more because he's smaller, but he's physical.
But point is,
he can take a pound.
Point is, he was not expected to be an every down back. He wasn't even drafted to be an every down back by the Bucs. The Bucs did not have an intention of him being an every down player.
Well, he was a bit undersized, and he ran a 4.55 40. So it's his measurables didn't jump off the page. But then you get a guy on the field and you see what he does, and that's a different story.
Yeah, and they just mature different. They just become different players. The situation is different. Like in college, he's not given the same opportunities, and then he's just, So point is, Judkins or Caleb Johnson or anybody could become a huge player on the show. We could be totally all over Judkins later. Be like, this is the best running back that's okay. You don't have all the answers now, nor will you ever. You're always going to have players that get better and get worse, and you prospect lower early on and you get on board. It doesn't mean anything negative at all. But as far as what were we talking about? Just talking about Ben Johnson. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he's going to do. All I know is I don't want anything to do with the Bears because of the Bears. And if Ben Johnson turns Caleb Williams around, so be it. I definitely think it's possible, but I certainly don't, at the cost of entry of where a lot of these players would go, I'd just rather draft other players, plain and simple.
Now, do you think Rayshon has any chance of doing anything, or do you think it's too late for him?
Maybe, but I just don't care to draft him.
Yeah, just right. You gotta wait and see. Obviously,
I just want. I mean, Adunze I kind of like, but that's probably the only player that I'm really intrigued about. I'm not intrigued about Caleb at cost of entry. I just don't care. I'm not drafting Caleb Williams to be my starter. I'm gonna have a different player than that. But Adunze, I would say Adunze is pretty intriguing because he's probably gonna be pretty lowly ranked, and I think he's probably going to have a lot of value.
Almost like JSN ranking wise coming into this year, you could get him at a good value. I think he went around pick 100, which is pretty even lower maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to be an intriguing player. I liked him a lot, as you guys know. I liked him a lot. He was freaking one of my favorite players in the entire draft class, but I don't know. I also feel like, you go somewhere like this and, sometimes you lose a little bit of that edge and you don't really know if you're going to get it back. Oh, my back. Yeah, so call in, guys, if you have any questions around this. As far as Derrick Henry, I mean, I think early ADP is going to show he's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like, it's going to be a wide range. People keep spouting off ESPN rankings. Stop looking at that stuff. It shows Breece Hall in the top 12. He's not going. Breece Hall's he's third rounder. If anything shows Breece Hall in the first or 2 or the 1-2 turn, you're looking at old data. Like, that data is being driven by old ADP that has not updated, which is mind-boggling to me. And you go to Sleeper right now to do a mock draft, and it's like, it's got Tyreek Hill at 3. What do you do? Like, isn't somebody there just says, you know what? Let me go. Hey, Steve, the head honcho. I don't even know. I'm just making up names. Hey, Steve, it's Bill from TPS reporting. Can I just log in real quick and just manually sort the ADP rank just one time so everybody can do mock drafts? Like, how is this not a topic of conversation? How do they literally leave it? Like, last year they left it felt like until June or something. How does somebody not just manually change it? I don't understand. So when you go to ESPN rankings or Sleeper and you see Breece Hall and Tyreek Hill in the top 5, like, you're not drafting real right now, just so you know. Derrick Henry will go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. Some will call him top 5. Like, people saying that he's going in the second. I'm seeing him going in the second round. You're not seeing him going in the second round. You're doing a mock draft with computer-controlled teams on old ADP data.
So they still have last year's mock draft rankings, right?
Tyreek Hill on Sleeper. Yeah, Tyreek Hill on Sleeper is number 3.
Number 1.
No, it's not. Why would you even mock draft right now? It's ridiculous. John, you're live.
Hey, Smitty, thanks for taking the call. I want to get your thoughts on, obviously, Roman Doomsday, but the other dude, DJ Moore, and where possibly Keenan Allen goes. And then if you have time, your thoughts on Josh McDaniels, a guy I know you do not like, going back to New England.
Oh, why? What? John, have you not been paying attention?
You missed the news.
I mean, what makes you think I don't like Josh McDaniels?
You put in the comment section one time that you said he was like a terrible coach.
I put in. When did I put that in a comment?
Probably maybe 9 months ago, 10 months ago.
Okay, number one, didn't you just hear my entire open? I don't even know that I said that, to be honest with you. But even if I did, didn't you hear my open? He's not the head coach, John. He's not the head coach. Do you think Miami Mike McDaniel's a bad offensive coordinator?
No, he's great. He just lacks picks and players.
So he's a bad head coach.
Well, he has a quarterback.
What are we doing? Is somebody eating like a Snickers bar or something? Like, what's that sound? Is someone typing or what? Bob, is that
No, it's not me. It's definitely not
Juice
me.
Box, can you mute? I don't know what you're doing, bro, but we hear something.
Not me. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here.
I must have missed the intro on Josh McDaniels and
you did. Guys. But not only that, you missed yesterday's show on Josh McDaniel. You missed the other. Like, this has been talked about a lot. But Miami Mike McDaniel, would it be accurate to say he might be a bad head coach but a good offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can use that same logic with Josh McDaniels. I'm not saying Josh McDaniels is a great head coach. Even if I did say what you said I said, which you said I said 9 months ago, and I don't know how you would, to be honest with you, I don't know how you would remember that if that were even true. But I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying maybe you read someone else's comment or like, and I'm rarely ever commenting on my own live stream. Like, John, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, Smitty, you put in the comments.
The live stream. It's on the comments after the video ends.
Okay. I don't, to be honest with you, I have a pretty good memory. Even though it doesn't look like I do, I just throw stuff out that I don't need really quickly. Like when someone calls in, like, remember my team yesterday? No, I don't, because I can't retain that stuff. I get thousands of teams thrown at me. But I'm pretty good memory. I don't remember ever commenting less than a calendar year ago, hey, Josh McDaniels is a horrible head coach. Like, I don't know that I would have wrote that. But let's pretend I did. Because I basically, I'm not saying he is a great head coach. I'm just saying I don't remember writing that, John. But again, he is a good offensive mind that is now offensive coordinating. Just like if Miami might, just like more better example is Kingsbury in Arizona got fired. And I think he got fired prematurely. But he got fired in Arizona. Failed as a head coach. He failed no matter what because he got fired. And when he got hired in Washington, and people, simpletons, John, simpletons would come and say, but he failed in Arizona. What's the job title that he's getting in Washington? Offensive coordinator. Okay, so why are you talking about his head coaching role?
Well, he's not the head coach. He's the offensive
Correct.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on
Right.
with Drake May and the other players.
I'm
there.
just saying.
The guy, Cliff Kingsbury, he was great too. He was the head coach of Texas Tech for Patrick Mahomes. So the dude can coach. Right.
And so people running their mouth about how he was a bad head coach, so he was going to be a bad offensive coordinator. My point is McDaniels could be really good in this situation. Vrabel's the head coach. Vrabel's the lightning rod. Vrabel's the culture maker. And sometimes it's culture. Sometimes it is all culture. Look at Quinn in Washington with Kingsbury. He set the culture. Even Kingsbury said in an interview, the reason we're so good is because of the culture. And I learned from Quinn on that. And it's amazing how he came in and said, this is what we're going to be. We're not going to compromise. This is our culture. You look at the New York Jets last year and the year before, there's zero culture. Devontae Adams was traded for, and he said the first thing he noticed is when the defense made a play, the offense didn't even care on the sideline. And when the offense made a play, the defense wasn't even watching the field. They were like A.J. Brown reading a book. And A.J. Brown, if A.J. Brown was on my team, you know how I know Sirianni's a horrible coach? Might be a good this or that. He might be a good, part of him's good at coaching this, or it might be good at, I don't know, whatever he's good at. He's good at some things, obviously. But Sirianni's a horrible head coach in just because he let A.J. Brown read a book on the sideline. The fact that the Eagles are milking this marketing wise, like now everybody's got the book, and it's like he would have been benched for the entire game. You don't allow a player to ignore the game and read on the sideline, and you better not in the chat be like, he's bettering himself. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing your parents. You're embarrassing your mother. You're embarrassing me. I would have put A.J. Brown on the bench for an entire game. You don't read a book on the side. I would have went and grabbed the book out of his hands and ripped it up page by page and told him to take a lap around the field in front of everybody. You want to play in this game? Take 2 laps around the field, and then I'll let you go back in the game. Absolute just embarrassment across the board. All right, John, what were your other questions? Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze. Keenan Allen is maybe a shell of himself this year. Maybe he has spots. Maybe he's kind of like my Mixon example. You could draft him and then trade him, but no one's going to even trade for him probably anyway, and you probably just get stuck with him. I'm just probably drafting a player I like better. I don't think his ADP falls so far that I'm like, oh, I'm scooping this up all day long. Is there a world where I draft Keenan Allen in a couple best ball drafts because he falls too far? Sure, but I don't know that I'm like consuming all the Keenan Allen I can because his ADP. As far as DJ Moore, I like DJ Moore a lot. I do think he's a great player. I think he's tired of playing with Caleb. I think that Ben Johnson will rejuvenate that, so I think he'll come in with a fresh mindset. And the question will be, do you believe in Ben Johnson? Will DJ Moore get fed properly, consistently? If so, he probably has a really decent potential year. You look at Rome Odunze, and who knows if Keenan Allen's even on the roster, by the way. But you look at Rome Odunze and you say, okay, here's a guy that hasn't done anything yet. Kind of a little bit of disappointment set in for people, and I bet you that won't recover for a while. Maybe in August you won't get him as a steal because he's showing signs of life, and then the sleeper mentality gets ruined by the time you get to actually draft. But in best ball, Rome Odunze should be a steal all offseason long. I do like Rome. I don't know that I love the ADP values cost of entry on any of the other three, but I do love Rome. Or the other two. What was the other question?
I was going to ask, like, I don't want to waste your time. I know you got a lot of other topics to cover, but did you talk about in the previous video Josh McDaniels' effects on the players that are currently on the New England roster and any players they may pick in the upcoming draft?
Well, Josh McDaniels isn't going to be making those decisions. It'll be Vrabel more than Josh McDaniels. I'm sure he'll have input, but I'd be more wording that about Vrabel. But I think, what specifically? What player?
Like Drake May's outcome, can he take the next step? If they draft McMillan, if they draft somebody, they're going to be good for them.
T. Higgins, Ted McMillan, Burden, obviously Travis Hunter. Like, those are kind of the main, Godwin maybe. Those are the main options. I think you need one of those players. If you don't, I don't think Drake May's awful. I think he plays pretty well. But I think maybe what you get out of him is like a guy that you start at the wrong time. Like, he's going to be really good some games. He's going to be just decent game manager, still doing well, but maybe not fantasy-wise. Some games, his ability to run is so good. It makes him like a threat at all times. I would say Drake May, without knowing who lands on roster, I think he's going to be top 10. I think he's going to be borderline top 10. I don't know that I would be drafting him as my number one all the time or anything, but I think I could draft like 2 potential Drake May quarterbacks and have a rotation. But I think I'm just more of a big name quarterback guy. But it doesn't mean I don't like Drake May. Drake May could absolutely climb really quickly. If you give him T. Higgins, I venture to say he'll be a lot of people's sleeper breakout quarterback, ranked pretty high.
Appreciate it, Smitty. Have a great night, man.
All right, later, bro. Let's see. Juicebox, you're live.
Thanks, Smitty. Hey, along the lines of the Bears, what about Cole Kmet? What's your thoughts on Cole Kmet? Like, I know Ben Johnson did a lot of positives with Laporta, so could there be
nothing's changing based on what question. Like, everyone's asking me the question as if it's going to change my mind. Like I said, I'm not interested in any Bears. That's not going to change based on the way someone asked me it. Like, I just to save people time, I'm not interested in any Bears unless it's Roma Dunze for cost of entry. Doesn't mean that I can't change my mind, or Cole Kmet won't excite me later, or Swift won't excite me, or they draft Genty and then I'm on the Genty train, because he'll be good no matter where he goes. And Swift was successful, and Ben Johnson deployed an absolute remarkable running game in Detroit. So I definitely could see, him wanting to make Genty successful. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want Genty going there. I want him going somewhere else. But for right now, Adunze is the only player I want to own at cost of entry. Doesn't mean Caleb will be bottom 5 in the quarterback scoring, Fantasy Football 2025. I think he could be borderline top 10. Like he has a cannon. Like, there's no doubt Caleb has a cannon, but so did Jeff George. So did Ryan Leaf. So did Johnny Manziel. So did Josh Rosen. Like, it doesn't matter. If you have a cannon, how good are you at commanding the men on the roster? How good are you? He just doesn't come off as a leader. And I've said that all offseason. And even if you love Caleb Williams, you think he changes that, which he could. The Bears set him up for failure last year. Is Ben Johnson automatically better than the perceived value of the Bears setup for Caleb last year? Answer me that. Because everyone said all offseason long, but us, we said Washington was the best setup for a rookie we've ever seen. We said that. We told you, not you, Juicebox, but you in general. Caleb's going to be... Everybody said that Caleb, no rookie quarterback had ever been set up better than Caleb Williams walking into 2024. How does that look now? We knew that wasn't true. People peddled it like crazy. Are you telling me that Ben Johnson alone, with the draft pick that they have, a high draft pick, that is better than the perceived value of what everyone said was the best setup ever? That's all I'm saying. So I don't just sit here and go, oh, it's going to be glory, white doves and rose petals, and it's going to be amazing in year one. I think it could be a process, and when if Ben Johnson ends up becoming a good head coach, and we don't know if he will, we've never seen him head coach. He could be Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel was so exciting. Remember that. Try and recapture the feeling you had about Mike McDaniel. Here's this guy that was exciting scheme artist, a scheme architect in San Francisco, made Deebo Samuel into a monster, created the wide back role, tons of motion, got Tyreek Hill. He was assembling a track team. What a remarkable acquisition Tyreek Hill was, and all this stuff. Like, you just thought to yourself, Miami Mike McDaniel knows what in the hell he's doing. He's a horrible head coach. So I don't know. I don't know what Ben Johnson will be. I know he's got a tall order. I know he's got the worst GM, or top 3 worst GM in the National Football League, making decisions above him. And we don't know how much Ben Johnson's going to have pull. Can Ben Johnson have whoever he wants? If so, that makes me feel a little bit better. But if Ryan Poles is involved, he's inept.
Yeah. What about, what's your thoughts on the quarterback situation with the Jets?
We don't know what it is. There is no quarterback situation with the Jets. I think Aaron Glenn is...
I mean, it's up in the air, right?
I mean, is it Fields? I'm intrigued. Is it Darnold? I'm not so intrigued. Darnold feels like, and I don't think that maybe the Jets would go there though, because someone might look at Darnold and say this isn't an Aaron Rodgers, experiment. But all I feel is it's an Aaron Rodgers-like experiment. And the last thing I want is an experimentation going on at the quarterback position in a new coaching regime. I want Fields, which I know someone might say that's an experiment though. But I want Fields if I'm going to experiment, I guess is the best way to put that. And then if not, I'd rather just build through trading and mortgaging your future, because your team is young. You've got a defense. You've got a great team. And you're not really mortgaging that much because you still have money to retain all that youth. So you could retain all of the players, but you mortgage your future to a degree to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. That's it. If you don't do that, or get Fields, or I guess get Darnold as a bridge to get into next year's draft class and draft a better quarterback, I don't know what you're doing with this team. If Aaron Glenn doesn't have a competent quarterback at all, how is this team going to function? I have no idea what they're going to do. It could be Aaron Rodgers could be the backup plan. Because, I mean, what do you do if you can't get a top 2 rookie quarterback? You can't get Fields. He goes somewhere else. You can't get Darnold. He goes somewhere else. What do you do? Russell Wilson?
Yeah, your options are limited. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in the quarterback free agent pool is it's Justin Fields and Darnold. That's it. I don't even think Russell Wilson's an option for me. I don't want him.
No. Is there any world where they trade Wilson and just go into full rebuild mode? I mean, they have a decent roster. It's not missing too much.
I think it'd be
they have smart people putting it together. But.
I think if they have smart people putting it together, they won't do that. Because I mean, that's like you're within reach. You got a great defense. You got a great offense. You just need a quarterback. That's why I say mortgage all your draft picks if you have to a degree. I'm not saying give up 3 rounds for 3 straight years, but I'm saying you give up next year. You give up this year's first rounder and next year's first rounder, and maybe a couple seconds or whatever you got to do. It could be just first rounders. Maybe you keep all your seconds and thirds, and you're mortgaging just your first round, whatever. But you give up this year's first rounder and 2 additional to get the number 1 overall pick or the number 2. The Titans are obviously entertaining taking Travis Hunter, so they're entertaining a better deal than that. They're not just locked in. They're just saying we won't be afraid to take a generational talent at 1. That's a posture move 90% of the time. So they're open to trading, it sounds like, in my opinion. That's how I digest that. So you give me 2 additional first rounders and this year's first rounder to move it up. So 2 first rounders to move up first rounders. That's a move I would make if I'm Tennessee and I've got no shot. Like you're building for the long term. So that would be a great move for Tennessee, and the Jets get Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward and a young team that they can continue to retain and build around. I mean, if they get and I'm not saying that the JD5 is out there ever again. This is a 1 in a million, once in a lifetime player, once in a century at least player. But if you could get a CJ Stroud type, like his rookie year, not talking about last year, then you might go to you might become a Final Four team this year. If Cam Ward or Shedeur has a rookie year like Stroud had, they could go at least at least win 1 round. And that would be a remarkable change for this team. And a good step toward, what would they do the next year? Yeah, Dart's okay, Milrose okay, Ewers is okay. None of those guys, you never know. You never know. For anybody that says Dart or Milroe or Ewers can't become a great quarterback, just humble yourself for a minute and realize I did not know and saw Kurt Warner or Tom Brady coming. So he had film. He had film too, just like Ewers. Okay, he had film too, just like Milroe. Brady had film. You walked right past it. I walked right past it. Nobody cared about Tom Brady. Nobody. Except for the New England Patriots, who barely cared about him. They didn't even really care about him as much as they knew they should later. So let's not pretend you know everything about all the quarterbacks. Because no one knows. So maybe Dart does become that guy. Maybe Milroe does become that guy. Ewers. So I wouldn't say it's the end of the world if one of those QBs goes to New York and they believe in him, but we'll see. Fam versus Brees in the round 2 is going to be a steal. He's probably going to round 3, bro. Don't be taking him in round 2 if you don't need to. Brees Hall is going to be a 3rd round, top of round 3 steal in early 2025 mock drafts and best ball drafts. People are dogging Brees Hall left and right. The more Brees Hall content I put up, the more negativity I see. And that's coming from a very friendly Brees Hall community. So don't be taking Brees Hall in round 2 if you don't need to. And don't be trusting ridiculous ADP data out there that's not accurate or some mock draft tool that doesn't update it. Juicebox, anything else?
One last inquiry is, as far as the Lions losing all their coordinators, what do you think happens with those the talent on that squad? That's going to drop a little bit, or what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I want to say this as objectively as I can. I think there's a little bit of a chance of. I don't think Gibbs falls off too much at all, if any. They're going to run him a lot. But there is a chance that this offense doesn't fire off the same and it struggles to find its way. And it wouldn't be shocking to see what happened in Philly when Shane Steichen left and they went through a couple different staff runs at it, or at least went through a run of different staff members and then had to find their way this year. There's definitely a chance. There's definitely a chance that this is not something that sticks right away. The replacements, I don't know. I think that could it hurt St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Gibbs a little bit, Laporta, maybe. Goff certainly didn't do us any favors either, because now we walk into 2025 worried about Goff, and his offensive coordinator's gone. The staff is gone, and now you're left with Campbell, who kind of feels like Wild Bill out there, just I don't know what I don't even know what Campbell even does anymore. I don't know if he's just like that manager at the call center that he doesn't even know the system. He doesn't make any calls. He just kind of walks up and down the aisles in his suit and coffee mug and his $50 suit. Like that's what I feel like Dan Campbell. Like I know he's making big calls. I know he's running the team. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like when, like, Sirianni, everybody thought Sirianni was a great coach. And then when Steichen left, everyone's like, holy shit, I don't know what Sirianni even does. Because when he took over, he doesn't know what he's doing. Because it was kind of a Shane Steichen operation. What?
He's the culture setter. Campbell's the culture setter.
Yeah, I mean,
motivator, culture setter.
I just don't know.
I think you're right. Where he needs his coordinators more than other coaches do.
They should bring in Ryan Grubb. That would be good.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't know what Ryan Grubb's plans are. Dynasty, Waddle or Ayuk? Probably Waddle, my boy. But I don't really love either. But I certainly feel like with Tyreek saying he's done in Miami, which he could dial back and walk back a little bit, kind of think there's no way I can go Ayuk over a Waddle, but I don't love either one.
Am I crazy? Am I crazy to say I'd roll the dice on Ayuk because of where you can get him, his price to acquire him right now? I like Waddle. I guess maybe if he gets a ton more work, but he's always banged up, and it just worries me. I could be wrong. I could be flat out wrong on him.
Well, that's a different question, I guess. If you're saying cost of entry, who do I like in Dynasty? Since my answer is neither, then I would say Ayuk because he's worth nothing, so I'm spending nothing, and then I can literally say neither. But if I say Waddle, I'm committing to a high price tag, and I don't want to do that. So, in a sense, I'd just say I don't want either one in Dynasty. Period. But if you're telling me I had my choice of just grabbing one free off the waiver wire in a Dynasty format, I would say Waddle because you could trade him, but I would immediately trade him.
I got you.
I want neither one. Waddle's in a walking injury, lots of trade value. Why not capitalize on that if you own him right now? Why? Why not? Especially with Tyreek whispers of going elsewhere, and that could get dialed back. So trade him now. Now, if Tyreek Hill does get traded and he's out of there, then Waddle does go up even more, and you could have got more. You run the risk, right? But so only take a great trade or wait and hope that happens. But why not trade him on spec now and go get, I don't know. I mean, you could probably trade Waddle in just a mediocre pick, or Waddle in a mediocre player and get somebody doubting on a Breece Hall or something like that. I don't know. But Ayuk, to answer your question, crazy? No, not at cost of entry, but Ayuk's coming back from a devastating, not just a clean ACL tear. Like he had a devastating, his whole knee got mangled. Devastating knee injury. The odds of him even having a good physical year, physically, is like slim to none, at least early on. And then he's never gotten out of his own head. This guy is an absolute disaster head case right now. And Jennings is better than him.
You're waiting to see 2 years,
Yeah, Jennings is better than him. John Lynch said recently that they're not in the business of trading good players like Deebo Samuel. He said that many times before.
Coming up.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know what Ayuk even, just because he's getting paid a boatload of money doesn't mean he's above Jennings, Deebo. I mean, he could be the number 3 wide receiver coming off of injury like that. I don't know. I want nothing to do with Ayuk. All right. We'll see you later, Juice Box.
All right. Thanks.
Later, bro. All right, Travis, anything else? I'm probably going to head out tonight. I might come back tonight, but my back's killing me.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I'll talk to you later.
All right. I hope to come back and do the Dynasty version of this. All right. Later, Travis. Appreciate you all. I'm sorry to cut it short. I mean, it's not that short. We've been live an hour and 10 minutes, but my back is absolutely blasted. Oh, God. I got stuck in the hallway last night at like 3 a.m. and I have a weight home gym near the hallway, and so it's like a pull-up bar and everything, and I had to grab it and just hold on to it, and I didn't know what to do. I just sat there for like 5 minutes because I couldn't move my back. I've never pulled my back out this bad. Smitty making me feel young again. But it's not like, you know, youthful people have back problems all the time. Backs are just, they're weird. You know, you get in a car accident or you do something. Part of me is I'm in this chair all day long. I'm in a seated position, and I need to be kinder to my posture and my back. So as soon as I get healthier, I need to do more back exercises, because clearly this is reoccurring, right? I mean, you guys remember I kept switching chairs out because my back was getting pulled out, and I had back issues as a kid, which is coming back, but I went my whole, you know, young adult life without any back issues. And I think it's all because of chairs and postures and just being in a chair. I need to do back exercises, and I think it'll go away, completely go away. So more standing, do more standing desk stuff right here versus sitting down the whole show. Or even if I sit down the whole show, I just need to do better with my posture. Yeah, core, I need to do sit-ups. I need to get the core stronger, everything. All right, appreciate you all. I'll see you all maybe tonight with the back, maybe not, but my goal is to come back. The graveyard shows are never guaranteed. The 8 p.m. show pretty much is every single time. You know, I miss maybe one show a year at 8 p.m. Eastern, but try and be back. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat, BBQ. Which video did you want? I mean, you just got to pick one. You know, whether you want the Puka Nakua mullet, the JD5 is the only 5. The JD5 University, the new London video. The new London video. Let me play that one. See if you want that one. Mr. London, what seems to be the problem? I've been a little off. Can't seem to get things going, if you know what I mean. I think I have just the thing for you, Mr. London. I'm not redoing this video unless T. Higgins stays for sure. If he stays, I'll redo it. Until then, I'm manually doing it. What a lot of work this is. Maybe I should just redo it.
Through sheer science and intense aerodynamic study, the mullet of Puka Nakua has been reconstructed inside the Fantasy Football Show studios. This systematic balance of hair volume, mixed with both Quantum Atom fiber technology and L'Oreal shampoo and conditioner, creates a floating mechanism to which the world has never seen. Patent pending. To see this prototype in action, see Puka on Sundays as he floats around the field.
Thanks again, my boy BBQ. That's your video, pal. Doses.